English senior teacher Mr. Kemal Sayed, English supervisor Ms. Sahar Ashri. To start first, let's start with this video, how to motivate unmotivated students. How to motivate unmotivated students.
Hello. And welcome to Teachings in Education, the ARCS model to motivate student learning. Credit given to John Keller. Build student motivation to learn and participate in your classroom. Some teachers can't get their students to learn because they just can't motivate them. The idea is that an increase in student motivation will lead to an increase in student productivity. What can you actually do to get your students motivated and keep them motivated? Well, teachers can get and sustain student motivation through these 4 upcoming elements brought to you by John Keller. Each box will house one of Keller's elements. First up is the A from ARCS, which stands for attention. And one way to get their attention is to use humor. There's nothing wrong with adding a laugh in every once in a while. Inquiry-based learning methods will inherently keep your students' attention. Present students with an interesting dilemma or problem to solve and watch them get excited. Use both visual and auditory stimuli. You can find some great infographics and visually intriguing models for students. Even consider musical adaptations of content, the quadratic formula song. And lastly, vary the method in which you present your material. You shouldn't lecture every single time. Maybe play an engaging YouTube video as a change of pace. The next element to motivate your students is relevance. Students find learning relevant when they're able to build upon their prior skills and knowledge. Let your students know how this lesson relates to the prior lesson and how it relates to anything they have learned. Students will ask themselves, remember, we are teaching to children and adolescents. They live in a now and me world, as any parent knows. Yet, students still want to know if what they learn today will help them in the future. Math teachers constantly hear the question, when will I ever use this? To increase student motivation, provide choice in your class assignments. One lesson, for example, can offer 2 different assignments. One a project presentation and the other a research paper. And then let the student make a choice. Continuing with the 3rd element to increase motivation, C from ARCS, confidence. Students need to believe they can do the work. You can help them believe by first providing small but achievable goals for your students, which will build confidence. You need to help your students believe that they can succeed and be successful. They often think, what's the point of me trying if I'm just going to fail anyway? So help them believe. Whenever there's an opportunity, give positive feedback to your students. Positive feedback will gradually help students build confidence. Ultimately, you want students to think that their success is of their own doing. This means avoiding simply giving your students the answers. Let them work it out for themselves. And the last element of student motivation, the S from ARCS, is satisfaction. I think teachers sometimes forget that learning should be a rewarding process. Earning good grades in class is a legitimate achievement, something to be proud of. Also, give students the grades that they have earned. Don't patronize them by giving them an A when they didn't deserve it. Make sure an A is something special. Students lose faith in themselves and the school when they receive grades they didn't feel they really earned. And lastly, allow the learner to make use of their knowledge. It's best if you can create some opportunities for students to apply what they've learned for future lessons and situations outside of the classroom. So right now I would like to say thank you for your time. Please subscribe to this channel and consider these ideas for student motivation. Also, be sure to like and share.
So let's look at these 2 pictures. Let's look at these 2 pictures. What is the difference between these 2 pictures? What is difference between these two pictures? Huh?
In the first picture shows the student can't be the teacher can't get his students' attention to what he is presenting.
Yes.
So we can see the opposite on
The
second
picture?
Yes. She can
Get the attention, take their attention.
They can
These
motivate
are
her children.
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. These are unmotivated students and these are motivated students. So, how can teachers teach language skills to motivate their students and make them become more interested in learning language? How? How can teachers teach language skills to motivate their students and make them become more interested in learning the language?
The teacher should encourage the students and make them feel self-confident and don't be shy.
Exactly.
So encourage them to participate in presenting the new material.
Yes, excellent. So we have elements here to follow to motivate students. The first element, be enthusiastic about the subject. A teacher, enthusiasm is a crucial factor in a student's motivation. Enthusiasm and passion are contagious. Your passion, energy leads to the students become more motivated. Create pleasant, relaxing, enjoyable environment. A classroom is a great place for learning, but sitting at a desk all the day out can make school bit dull for some students. The first step for your student is to know your students better. You have to know your students better. Getting to know your student is about more than memorizing their name. You have to memorize your student's name. It means understanding their needs, desires, and interests. The third element, when students feel appreciated, it creates a safe learning environment and motivates them to work harder. The third element, use achievable and relevant material. You should make material inclusive enough to reach to the level of your students. Ensure opportunities to student success by assigning tasks that they are neither too easy, neither too difficult. Create a safe, supportive environment for students, affirming their belief in their own abilities. The fourth element, have high but attainable expectation for your students. Research has shown that teacher expectations have a powerful effect on students' performance. If you act as though you expect your students to be motivated, hardworking, interested in the course, they are more likely to be so. Number two, set a realistic expectation. Your standard is high enough to motivate students to do their best work. For students, when you make assignments, making sure you give positive feedback. Varied teaching methods. A teacher must be creative and flexible to let each class be a new adventure. Number one, a student shouldn't be just listeners and passive receivers of knowledge. They should learn by doing, constructing, designing, creating, and solving. For instance, teachers should ask questions in the classroom and leave blank parts for critical areas where students have to think. Encourage students to suggest approaches to a problem or to get the result of experiment. In this way, they became accustomed to thinking for themselves. They have to think for themselves. A teacher should respond clearly to students' questions using appropriate examples which are understandable. Each lesson must be clear, interesting, with a lot of different activities. It should go from writing exercise to speaking lesson, then to listening practice, again back to writing, to ensure that students do not lose interest. Okay, this is the role of the teacher. What about the role of the students? The role of the students to motivate themselves. The students have a role too. So let's listen to this video about the role to motivate themselves.
The other 3 videos in our 4-part series on how to encourage students to motivate themselves discuss autonomy, which is helping students feel like they have a choice in what they do and how they do it. Competence, for creating a situation where learners feel they are capable of doing what they are being asked to do. And relevance, which is when students feel that what they are learning relates to their present lives or future hopes. This video will focus on another element that researchers suggest supports intrinsic motivation, relatedness. In other words, doing an activity that helps students feel more connected to others and helps them feel cared about by people whom they respect. So we're talking about 2 parts of this equation. 1, creating learning situations where students get to like and respect each other and have opportunities to work with one another. 2, creating a positive relationship between teachers and students. Here are some ways to help create both of these conditions. In addition to students getting to know each other, researchers have found many other benefits to small group learning, including the fact that it can promote transfer of knowledge, applying what is learned to new contexts, because often people have to accomplish tasks with others in the workplace. Project-based and problem-based learning are 2 common classroom activities done in small groups that challenge students to collaboratively find answers to real-world problems. A simple strategy like pair share is another learning activity that promotes student cooperation. There are different variations of this simple and quick instructional strategy. One can include students first thinking and writing about a question or problem, sharing with a partner, and then using this discussion to modify their initial response. In our own classes, we often let students choose their own group partners. However, we also share research with them about how the most creative work can come out of diverse partnerships. So we try to encourage students to mix it up with who they work with. We also work hard at creating a positive and supportive learning environment. We like to call it a community of learners, not just a classroom of students. And so we often invite students at the end of class to even offer specific praise for their classmates. A beginning of the year activity where students give 2-minute presentations to the class about things that are important to them can also help build a sense of community. Mountains of research highlight the importance of a positive student-teacher relationship. In fact, education researcher Robert Marzano concludes that if the relationship between the teacher and the students is good, then everything else that occurs in the classroom seems to be enhanced. Here are some ways to strengthen that relationship. Learn the hopes, dreams, and interests of your students. Not only is that likely to make them feel like you care about them, it can also give you ideas on how you can connect lessons to their lives. Say every student's name and pronounce it correctly, at least once during each class period. This lets them know you see them as individuals. You can do this by greeting students at the door. When you mess up, apologize. Not only is it good modeling behavior, but it also shows that we have a collaborative and respectful relationship with our students. Everybody has bad days. When students make bad choices, just start fresh the next day. I mean, most of the time our students aren't treating teachers badly, they're just having a bad day. Be flexible. Is it really worth publicly shaming a student who doesn't have a pencil? Or can you just keep some small golf pencils around for students to use? The root word of relationship comes from the Anglo-French relation, which means the act of telling. Creating a classroom environment where we are actively telling each other with words and actions that we care can go a long way towards building intrinsic motivation to learn.
Okay, to summarize all the previous points, we have 10 main classroom tips for motivating students. First, keep students active and engaged. Choose students random and make them understand that you value and input their ideas. Students interacting and sharing enhance instruction time and prepare students to function more effectively. Allow for students more choice, creativity, and variety. Allow students to pick their own genre, such as reports, poem, creative writing, stories, play, songs when they assigning the topic. Allow them to pick their own genre, pick their own favorite form of writing when they say and strictly engaged and motivated. Create a classroom newsletter or social media page. Create a new social media page for the classroom. Inspire interest in current events by using a local paper or a social media page as a model for reporting a class events. Class project in every subject can be presented with headers, bylines, lead-ins, bodies, and summary paragraphs. Get out of classroom. We have to take the students out of classroom. Holding class or even just a short discussion in a new environment, whether a park, museum, or school library, is a great way to stoke student interest. When you return to classroom, they may say a new approach to a problem or assignment. For example, when we went to Salt Mountain to apply a lesson about ecotourism under supervision of Mr. Gamal Said. Create a friendly competition. Participate in a competition. Using competition, students can participate in competition as long as there is appreciation for everyone's best effort and not all attention is placed solely on the winner. Competition can be a great way to create excitement. For example, spelling contest. When the teacher makes the classroom 2 teams and give every team a word to spell correctly, if the team fails in the group of words, it considered a loser, and the team who spelled all the words correctly is considered the winner. So using competition is a great way to motivate students. Offer differentiated instruction. Knowing that you will have students of different abilities in your classroom. Students with different abilities are very important in your classroom. Craft your lessons for everyone. Craft your lessons for everyone in the classroom, taking into consideration the different ability levels. Provide feedback promptly, frequently, and efficiently. Students must be able to see a direct connection between any effort or completed task, such as homework and a response from you, both verbal and written. Make sure you mention each student's personal progress rather than comparing his or her work with others in the class. Start the day with fun. Start the day off on a pleasant note. A funny video, a question, daily warm-ups for reading or fun, or a fact will help students see entertaining side of learning. Share accomplishment. Provide numerous opportunities for students to share their accomplishments with the class, and the class to share their achievement with larger school community. Use skits, plays, readers theater, production, library displays, smart boards, a class, newspapers, or other media to promote the effort of the whole classroom. Provide multiple opportunities for students to set goals. Number 1, students should have multiple opportunities to set their own academic goals. Multiple opportunities to set their own academic goals. Invite them to establish obtainable goals for a lesson, a unit, or even the whole year. Establish obtainable goals for a lesson. Ask them they would like to learn about a topic and what they think they must do to learn that material. So we have to apply this competition to motivate our lesson. We must apply this competition in our project, in our workshop, to motivate our lesson. letter of the word motivation.
كلمة واحدة؟
كلمة واحدة.
فن.
لا مش كلمة واحدة، هو كل حرف من الكلمة نكتب عليه كلمة.
فيرب ولا نعم؟
أي كلمة. الام كلمة، او كلمة، تي كلمة، كل حرف كلمة.